5 years after the revelation that changed the galaxy, Master Sergeant Chen Wei-Ming stood before a class of alien cadets at the newly established Terran Strategic Institute on New Geneva Station. The students represented 17 different species, all eager to learn what humans called the art of productive underestimation. "Today we study the Battle of Wolf 359, Chen announced, activating the holographic display that showed the Zephyrian command ship where he had made his legendary shot. "Who can tell me why this engagement was successful?" A young Thraxian cadet raised one of her forearms. "Because you eliminated the enemy commander with a precise long-range shot?" Chen shook his head. "That shot was just the signal. The battle was won 53 years before I pulled the trigger, when Earth's High Command made the decision to appear incompetent." He gestured to the tactical display. "Strategy isn't about the weapon you fire. It's about the weapon your enemy never sees coming." The classroom was filled with some of the brightest military minds in the galaxy, all trying to understand how humanity had achieved such a complete strategic victory without firing more than a handful of shots. The Terran Strategic Institute had become the most prestigious military academy in known space, not because it taught superior technology or tactics, but because it taught a completely different way of thinking about conflict. "Sir," a Caraxian cadet interjected, her sulfur glands releasing the scent that indicated confusion. "Our species has always believed that strength should be displayed openly to deter enemies. How can appearing weak be an advantage?" Chen smiled, remembering his grandfather's lessons about hunting in the mountains. "Cadet Sorth, your species evolved as apex predators. You learned to hunt by overpowering your prey. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We learned to outlast and outwit creatures stronger than ourselves." He activated another display showing Earth's evolutionary history. "When your ancestors were developing superior strength and natural weapons, my ancestors were learning to make tools, set traps, and convince dangerous animals that humans weren't worth attacking. We've been practicing strategic deception for millions of years." The lesson was interrupted by an urgent communication from Earth. Admiral Zhang's face appeared on the main screen, her expression serious but not alarmed. "Chen, sorry to interrupt your class, but we have a developing situation. Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching from outside the galaxy. Unknown configuration, definitely not any species we've encountered." The classroom fell silent. After 5 years of peace, the prospect of a truly unknown threat sent ripples of concern through the assembled cadets. "What's our assessment?" Chen asked. "Preliminary analysis suggests a highly advanced civilization, possibly fleeing from something even more dangerous. Their ships show battle damage consistent with a running fight across intergalactic distances." Zhang paused. "The Galactic Council is in emergency session. They're requesting human strategic assessment." Chen looked at his students representing the best minds from across known space. "Class dismissed. Report to your respective species commanders. We may have a practical examination sooner than expected." As the cadets filed out, Chen reflected on how much had changed. 5 years ago, the Galactic Council had mocked human strategic capabilities. Now they were the first civilization the Council contacted when facing an unknown threat. The next day, Chen found himself in the Council chambers once again, but this time as Earth's chief strategic advisor. The atmosphere was tense but respectful. Every species represented understood that humanity's unique perspective might be crucial for dealing with this new challenge. "The fleet consists of approximately 2,000 vessels," reported the Council's chief analyst, a Valian named Resthara. "They're maintaining a cautious approach vector, suggesting they're seeking refuge rather than conquest." Chairman Korthak turned to Chen. "Strategic advisor, what is your assessment?" Chen studied the sensor data carefully. "I recommend we assume nothing. 5 years ago, the galaxy assumed humans were harmless because we appeared clumsy. These refugees might appear desperate, but desperation can make any species extremely dangerous." "You suggest we treat potential refugees as threats?" asked the Meridian representative. "I suggest we treat them as unknowns until we understand their true capabilities and intentions," Chen replied. "We should offer assistance, but from a position of strength and with appropriate precautions." The Thraxian ambassador clicked approvingly. "Human strategic doctrine has taught us to question our assumptions. What if these refugees are actually scouts for whatever destroyed their home galaxy?" The discussion continued for hours as the assembled aliens applied human strategic principles to analyze the situation. The transformation was remarkable. Species that had once relied on brute force or technological superiority were now considering psychological factors, deception possibilities, and long-term strategic implications. Finally, a consensus emerged. The galaxy would offer humanitarian assistance to the refugees, but with careful monitoring and security precautions. Most importantly, they would not reveal the full extent of their defensive capabilities until they understood what they were dealing with. "Chairman," Chen said as the session concluded, "I recommend we also prepare for the possibility that whatever drove these beings from their home galaxy might follow them here. You believe we face a threat beyond anything we've encountered?" "I believe we should hope for the best while preparing for the worst. It served humanity well so far." As Chen left the council chambers, he thought about the long game that humanity had been playing for over 50 years. The revelation of their true capabilities had been just one move in a strategy that would continue for generations. Earth had taught the galaxy that strength could be hidden, that wisdom could appear as foolishness, and that the greatest victories were often won without fighting. Now, facing an unknown threat from beyond their galaxy, the combined civilizations of known space had the benefit of human strategic thinking. They would not underestimate their enemies, but neither would they reveal their true capabilities unnecessarily. Chen smiled as he walked toward the shuttle bay. Somewhere in the galaxy, human operatives were still maintaining their carefully cultivated reputations for clumsiness, still gathering intelligence, still preparing for threats that might not emerge for decades. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson: the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming. And thanks to 50 years of strategic patience, when the next threat emerged, it would face not just Earth's hidden strength, but an entire galaxy that had learned to think like humans. The long game continued, and humanity had ensured they would not be playing it alone. 3 days after Elena's revelation to the Galactic Council, the true scope of human infiltration began to emerge across the galaxy. In secure facilities on 1,000 worlds, alien security chiefs were discovering that their most trusted human staff members had access to classified information that should have been impossible to obtain. On the Caraxian homeworld of Sulfros Prime, Security Chief Graktal stared at his terminal in growing horror. The human janitor Marcus Thompson, who had worked in the military command center for 7 years, had somehow accessed the most classified defensive protocols in Caraxian history. But that wasn't the worst part. "Sir," his aide reported, voice trembling, "we've analyzed the access logs. Thompson didn't hack our systems. He had legitimate authorization codes." Graktal's 3 hearts skipped simultaneously. "That's impossible. Those codes are only known to the High Command, sir." General Vorthak has been working closely with Thompson for months, discussing maintenance schedules that gave him access to every secure area in the complex. The aide's skin had turned the sickly green color that indicated extreme stress. The human wasn't just cleaning our facilities, he was mapping them. Similar discoveries were happening throughout the galaxy. The Meridian Empire's intelligence division was in chaos as they realized that their cultural exchange student Rebecca Park had spent 2 years learning their military encryption methods. The Valian Consortium's crystal engineers were horrified to discover that their human apprentice, David Kim, had acquired detailed knowledge of their most advanced weapon systems, but the most shocking revelation came from the Thraxian hive. Ambassador Klextar had always been proud of his species' superiority in strategic thinking. The Thraxians were natural planners, their insectoid minds capable of processing complex tactical scenarios with ease. They had welcomed human observers to their war games, amused by their apparent inability to grasp even basic military concepts. The human observer Jennifer Walsh asked the most ridiculous questions, Klextar recalled to his security chief. She seemed confused by our simplest strategies, always needing concepts explained multiple times. His security chief, a young Thraxian named Kexman, had been reviewing the footage from those war games. "Sir, I've analyzed Walsh's questions using our new behavioral assessment protocols." She wasn't confused. She was systematically gathering information about our response patterns to different tactical scenarios. Klextar's mandibles clicked in denial. Impossible. No human could be that sophisticated. Kexman activated a holographic display showing Walsh's question patterns. Sir, her inquiries followed a precise sequence designed to map our decision-making processes. Every stupid question she asked was actually testing a specific aspect of Thraxian military doctrine. She spent 6 months building a complete psychological profile of our command structure. The realization hit Klextar like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just been pretending to be clumsy. They had been conducting the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history. And everyone had been too busy laughing to notice. On Earth, Director Sarah Chen of the Strategic Intelligence Division watched the galactic panic unfold from her office beneath the Canadian Rockies. The facility, officially listed as a meteorological research station, actually housed the most advanced intelligence operation in human history. Status report, she requested from her aide. Commander Williams, all deep cover operatives have maintained their positions despite the revelation. Apparently, alien security forces are so focused on finding secret agents that they're ignoring our people who are still acting clumsy. Williams smiled. The Zinthari actually promoted Agent Foster yesterday. They think his continued incompetence proves he's not a spy. Chen nodded approvingly. Phase 2 protocols? Already implemented. Our embedded assets are now actively protecting alien infrastructure. We've prevented 17 different attempts by various species to sabotage their own systems trying to find our people. Williams pulled up a tactical display. The Caraxians accidentally disabled their own planetary defense grid yesterday while searching for human infiltrators. And intelligence gathering? Accelerating beyond all projections. Now that everyone knows we're capable of sophisticated operations, they're reviewing all their interactions with humans. They're inadvertently revealing classified information while trying to figure out what we already know. Chen allowed herself a rare smile. The beauty of the operation was its psychological dimension. By revealing that humanity could conduct sophisticated deception, they had created a galaxy-wide paranoia that was more valuable than any number of hidden agents. On the Meridian homeworld, Defense Minister Croth was addressing his Security Council. We must assume that every human who has ever entered our territory is a potential spy. Minister, one of his advisors interrupted. That would include the human children in our cultural exchange programs. Croth's feathers bristled. Children can be trained as operatives from a young age. We can't take any chances. What Croth didn't know was that 10-year-old Emma Rodriguez, who had been attending Meridian schools for 2 years as part of a cultural exchange, was actually the daughter of 2 intelligence operatives. But Emma wasn't a spy herself. She was just a normal child whose genuine reactions to Meridian culture provided invaluable insights into how the aliens thought and behaved. The paranoia was spreading faster than any virus. Species that had welcomed human refugees were now questioning every stumble, every dropped object, every confused question. They were creating elaborate theories about human deception capabilities that went far beyond Earth's actual operations. Director Chen watched the intelligence reports flood in. The galaxy's reaction to humanity's revelation was providing more information than 50 years of active espionage had gathered. Every species was revealing their deepest fears, their most critical vulnerabilities, and their strategic thinking patterns. Ma'am, Commander Williams reported, we're receiving diplomatic communications from 16 different species requesting clarification about human intelligence capabilities. Translation? They want to know exactly what we know about them, so they can figure out how worried they should be. Williams chuckled. The Valians have offered to share their defense protocols with us if we'll tell them which of their facilities we've infiltrated. Chen shook her head in amazement. Denial of those requests. Let them wonder. Uncertainty is more powerful than knowledge. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about the danger of underestimating any species. But more importantly, they were discovering that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or military might. It was the ability to let others defeat themselves through their own assumptions and prejudices. 6 months after the Galactic Council's emergency session, the political landscape of the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in her new office aboard the space station, New Geneva, humanity's first permanent diplomatic facility in neutral space. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see ships from dozens of species approaching the station, not as conquerors or judges, but as equals seeking dialogue. The transformation had been remarkable and swift. Species that had once dismissed humanity as harmlessly incompetent now approached with a mixture of respect, wariness, and genuine curiosity. The Thraxian hive had been the first to request formal diplomatic relations, followed quickly by the Meridian Empire and even the proud Caraxian Republic. Elena's aide, Lieutenant Commander Park, entered with the morning intelligence briefings. Ma'am, the Zinthari Collective has formally requested a non-aggression pact. They're offering unrestricted access to their bioluminescent communication technology in exchange for assurances that our operatives won't target their breeding worlds. Elena nodded, reviewing the proposal on her tablet. Approved. Our policy remains the same. We're not interested in conquest or domination. We just want to be left alone to develop in peace. It was true. Despite the galaxy's fears about human intelligence capabilities, Earth's actual goals remained surprisingly modest. The revelation of human deception had been a defensive strategy, not an aggressive one. Humanity wanted trade relationships, cultural exchange, and the freedom to expand into unclaimed systems without interference. What about the Caraxian situation? Elena asked, resolved peacefully. President Morrison met with their High Council yesterday. They've agreed to withdraw from the disputed mining rights on Kepler 442b in exchange for Earth sharing our terraforming techniques. Park smiled. Apparently they're more interested in turning dead worlds into profitable colonies than fighting over ones that are already inhabited. The irony wasn't lost on Elena. By revealing their capacity for sophisticated military operations, humanity had actually made war less likely. Every species in the galaxy now understood that conflict with Earth would be far more costly than cooperation. Ma'am, Park continued, we're also receiving requests from 17 different species for military training exchanges. They want to learn human tactical doctrines. Elena raised an eyebrow. Our clumsy tactics? They're calling it unconventional warfare theory. The idea that apparent weakness can be a form of strength has revolutionized galactic military thinking. Park pulled up a tactical analysis. 3 different conflicts between alien species have been resolved in the past month using negotiation strategies based on human deception principles. This was perhaps the most unexpected consequence of humanity's revelation. Rather than triggering an arms race, it had actually reduced conflict throughout the galaxy. Species were realizing that their assumptions about each other might be as flawed as their assumptions about humanity had been. Elena's communication console chimed with an incoming message from Earth. Director Chen's face appeared on the screen, looking satisfied but tired. Elena, I wanted to update you on the domestic situation. The revelation of our intelligence operations has actually improved morale among civilian populations. Turns out people are proud that we've been outsmarting the galaxy for decades. Any negative reactions? Elena asked. Some concern about the ethics of deception, but most people understand it was necessary for our survival. The philosophy departments at universities are having a field day analyzing the moral implications. Chen smiled. Professor Martinez at Cambridge published a paper titled The Ethical Necessity of Strategic Incompetence that's being translated into 47 alien languages. Elena chuckled. Even academia was benefiting from humanity's new reputation. What's the status of our embedded operatives? Most are maintaining their positions, but with modified roles. Instead of gathering intelligence against their host species, they're now serving as cultural liaisons and early warning systems. The Valians actually requested that Agent Torres stay on as their permanent human cultural advisor. This had been one of the most delicate aspects of the transition. Thousands of human operatives had spent years building genuine relationships with aliens while maintaining false identities. The revelation could have destroyed those relationships, but many alien hosts had chosen to focus on the human agent's positive contributions rather than their deception. Agent Foster on the Zinthari homeworld has become something of a celebrity, Chen continued. They've made him the official human behavior consultant for their diplomatic corps. Apparently his continuing incompetence has convinced them he's the perfect example of authentic human behavior. Elena shook her head in amazement. Foster was actually one of their most competent operatives, but his ability to maintain his clumsy facade had made him invaluable as a cultural bridge between species. A soft chime indicated an incoming diplomatic transmission. Helena recognized the quantum signature of a Galactic Council communication. Elena, Chen said, I'll let you take that. But I wanted you to know, Earth is proud of what you've accomplished. You've turned humanity from the galaxy's comic relief into one of its most respected civilizations. The Council transmission resolved into the familiar form of Chairman Korthak. The ancient alien's expression was unreadable, but his posture suggested respect rather than hostility. Ambassador Vasquez, the chairman began. The Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision regarding humanity's status in galactic civilization. Elena felt a moment of tension. Despite the positive developments of recent months, humanity's formal standing in the galaxy remained uncertain. The Council recognizes Earth as a sovereign civilization, with full voting rights and territorial integrity guarantees. Furthermore, we formally apologize for our previous dismissive treatment of your species. Korthak paused, his ancient eyes focusing intently on Elena. We have learned that wisdom and strength come in many forms, and that our assumptions about other species have blinded us to important truths. Elena felt a surge of satisfaction. Chairman, humanity accepts the Council's recognition and looks forward to contributing constructively to galactic civilization. There is one additional matter, Korthak continued. Several member species have requested that humanity consider establishing a strategic studies institute to help other civilizations examine their own assumptions and blind spots. They believe human perspectives on deception and misdirection could prevent future conflicts. Elena smiled. We would be honored to contribute to galactic peace and understanding. As the transmission ended, Elena looked out at the ships surrounding New Geneva. Humanity had achieved something remarkable. They had transformed from the galaxy's underestimated comic relief into one of its most influential civilizations, not through conquest or intimidation, but by revealing the power of being underestimated. The clumsy humans had taught the galaxy that strength comes in many forms, and that the greatest victories are often won before the first shot is fired. Chen's earpiece crackled with the softest whisper of encrypted communication. Dragon Eye, this is Phoenix Command. All units report ready. You are cleared for Operation Reversal. General Vasquez stood from his command chair, his forearms gesturing at the holographic display showing Earth's solar system. Tomorrow we finish this pathetic species. Their homeworld will burn like the rest. Chen's finger tightened on the trigger. The shot would travel 2.3 kilometers through vacuum, accounting for the target's movement, the ship's rotation, and 17 other variables that his enhanced targeting system calculated in real time. He had trained for this moment for 8 years, perfecting techniques that combined ancient human marksmanship with technology that no other species possessed. The rifle's charge reached optimal levels. Chen's heartbeat slowed further. His breathing became so shallow it was barely detectable. In the scope's crosshairs, General Vasquez's breathing apparatus pulsed with the steady rhythm that would end in exactly 3.7 seconds. Chen fired. The projectile left his rifle at 98% light speed, a needle of compressed matter that would be invisible to all scanning equipment until the moment of impact. Chen was already moving, his magnetic boots disengaging from the debris he had called home for 3 days. His mission wasn't finished with one shot. Inside the Zephyrian command ship, General Vasquez was mid-sentence when his breathing apparatus simply vanished. The projectile passed through his primary and secondary respiratory systems, then continued through the bulkhead behind him, leaving a hole so perfectly round it looked like precision manufacturing. Vasquez collapsed without a sound. His staff stared in confusion for exactly 4 seconds before Major Kent realized their commander was dying. The Zephyrian's forearms flailed as he tried to reach the emergency medical station, but human intelligence had studied Zephyrian anatomy for decades. Chen's shot had been placed with surgical precision to ensure maximum psychological impact with minimal chance of survival. Medical emergency. The general has been... Kent's words were cut off as the ship's lights flickered and died. Chief Petty Officer Patel's charges had just destroyed the primary power grid throughout the station. In the sudden darkness, emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the command center. That's when Major Kent noticed something that made his carapace turn pale blue with fear. The hole in the bulkhead behind where Vasquez had been standing was perfectly aligned with the ship's main tactical computer. Scan for threats. Kent screamed. Find the shooter! But Chen was already gone, using the chaos to infiltrate the ship's docking bay. His true mission was just beginning. The assassination had been psychological warfare. But the real target was the Zephyrian invasion fleet's coordination systems. As Zephyrian soldiers scrambled to respond to the attack, similar scenes played out across their conquered territories. Sergeant Santos emerged from her hiding place near the Alpha Centauri fuel depot. Her clumsy movements suddenly transformed into deadly precision. The supply ships she had been watching exploded in perfectly timed sequence, their fuel stores creating a chain reaction that would cripple Zephyrian logistics for months. On the Vega defense platform, Corporal Tanaka shed her disguise as space debris and revealed herself as humanity's foremost expert in alien computer systems. The random equipment failures that had plagued the station for weeks suddenly made sense as every defensive system turned against its operators. Throughout the galaxy, the Zephyrian war machine ground to a halt as their incompetent human prisoners revealed themselves to be Earth's most elite special forces operatives. Communications went dark, supply lines collapsed, and command structures crumbled under coordinated attacks that had been planned for years. Chen moved through the Zephyrian ship like a ghost, his environmental suit's stealth systems making him invisible to their sensors. Every step was calculated, every movement precise. The clumsy human facade had been discarded, revealing the deadly predator underneath. In the ship's data core, Chen accessed the Zephyrian fleet's central command network. His fingers danced across alien interfaces with practiced skill, uploading a virus that would spread throughout their entire military communication system. But this wasn't just any virus, it was a message. As Chen worked, his earpiece brought him updates from around the galaxy. Dragoneye, this is Serpent's Tooth, target neutralized. Supply depot is space dust. Phoenix Actual Ghostwalker reporting. Defense platform secured. Broadcasting surrender demands on all Zephyrian frequencies. Dragoneye, this is Thunderchild. Enemy command post on Kepler 442b has been eliminated. Colonial Marines are moving to liberate civilian populations. Chen smiled as he completed his upload. The virus would do more than disrupt Zephyrian communications. It would broadcast the truth to every corner of the galaxy. Footage of human special forces in action, their true capabilities finally revealed. The careful documentation of years of strategic deception. The galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or numbers, but its ability to be consistently underestimated. Every species that had mocked human clumsiness was about to discover they had been watching a performance, and the real show was just beginning. Chen activated the virus and began his extraction. The Zephyrian ship around him was already falling apart, as human operatives throughout the fleet revealed themselves. But his work here was done. In minutes, every military commander in the galaxy would receive a simple message that would change everything. Greetings from Earth's Special Forces. We hope you enjoyed the show. Master Sergeant Chen Wei-Ming had been floating in the void for 73 hours, his environmental suit's life support systems running on minimal power. To any scanning equipment, he appeared to be another piece of debris from the destroyed human cargo vessel, New Shanghai. His heartbeat had slowed to 40 beats per minute, a meditation technique passed down through generations of Chinese military families. The Zephyrian command ship, Void Render, hung before him like a metallic predator, its sleek hull bristling with weapons that had turned 3 human colonies into glass. Chen's targeting scope tracked the ship's rotation, calculating wind resistance, gravitational pull, and the minute variations in local spacetime that could affect his shot. His rifle, a masterpiece of human engineering disguised as a standard plasma weapon, hummed quietly against his shoulder. Through his scope, Chen watched the Zephyrian High Command enter their war room. General Vasktar, whose victories against the Meridian Empire had made him a legend, settled into his command chair. His staff, 12 of the most brilliant military minds in Zephyrian space, arranged themselves around the holographic tactical display, showing their conquered human territories. The humans continue to surprise me with their incompetence. General Vaskatar's translator rendered his clicking sounds into words. Their defense of Kepler 442b was pathetic. Their soldiers literally tripped over their own barricades. Major Kent, Vaskatar's aide, displayed reconnaissance footage on the main screen. Our scouts report similar failures throughout human space. On Proxima Colony, their entire defensive line collapsed when their commander accidentally activated the wrong communication frequency and ordered his troops to retreat instead of advance. The Zephyrian officers clicked in amusement. Their carapaces shifting colors and patterns Chen's cultural briefings had taught him indicated contempt. What they didn't know was that accident had been carefully orchestrated by Lieutenant Sarah Kim, who had deliberately confused her communication protocols to lure the Zephyrians into overextending their forces. Phase 2 of our conquest begins tomorrow, Vascatar announced. We strike at the human homeworld's outer defense stations. Based on their performance so far, we should achieve total victory within a 10-day cycle. Chen adjusted his breathing, letting his body settle into the perfect stillness his grandfather had taught him while hunting in the mountains of Sichuan. His grandfather had been a sniper during Earth's last global conflict and had passed down techniques that no alien species had ever encountered. The irony wasn't lost on Chen. The Galactic Council mocked human clumsiness, never realizing that humanity's greatest military advantage was its ability to appear harmless. While other species had evolved for direct confrontation, humans had learned the art of deception. Every clumsy human soldier was performing a role that had been perfected over decades of careful planning. Chen's rifle scope locked onto General Vascatar's primary breathing apparatus, a vulnerability that human intelligence had identified months ago. The weapon itself was a marvel of human ingenuity, capable of firing a projectile at near light speed while producing virtually no energy signature. To alien sensors, it would appear to be nothing more than cosmic background radiation. But Chen wasn't ready to fire yet. His mission wasn't simply assassination. It was psychological warfare on a scale the galaxy had never seen. Through his communications implant, Chen received updates from his teammates scattered throughout Zephyrian space. Sergeant Maria Santos was positioned near the Zephyrian fuel depot at Alpha Centauri, watching supply ships come and go with clockwork precision. Corporal Yuki Tanaka had infiltrated the orbital defense platform at Vega, disguised as space debris after her transport had been accidentally destroyed. All across the galaxy, human refugees and incompetent soldiers were revealing their true nature. The young private who had seemed to panic during the defense of Europa was actually Captain James Morrison, a decorated Special Forces operative who had spent 6 months learning to stutter convincingly. The clumsy maintenance worker who kept dropping tools on the captured station at Barnard Star was Chief Petty Officer Rajesh Patel, an expert in explosives who had been planting charges in critical systems for weeks. The Zephyrians had no idea they had been infiltrated by Earth's most elite units. Every fumbling human they had captured or observed was actually a highly trained operative, carefully maintaining their cover while gathering intelligence and preparing for this moment. Chen watched as General Vascatar's staff updated their invasion plans. They were completely unprepared for what was coming. Their entire strategy was based on facing an incompetent enemy, not realizing they had already lost the war before the first shot was fired. Through his scope, Chen saw Vascatar lean forward to examine a tactical display. The general's breathing apparatus was perfectly aligned with Chen's crosshairs. One shot would decapitate the entire Zephyrian military command and signaled the beginning of humanity's counterattack. But timing was everything. Chen needed to wait for the precise moment when his shot would have maximum impact, when every human operative throughout the galaxy would reveal themselves simultaneously and show the universe what humanity was truly capable of. His finger rested gently on the trigger as he continued his patient watch, a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with the translated chatter of 300 different species. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the human podium, her hands steady despite the weight of representing Earth's 12 billion souls. The air recyclers couldn't quite mask the smell of sulfur from the Caraxian delegation or the sweet perfume of the flowering Xylosians. The human delegation requests military support against the Zephyrian invasion of our outer colonies, Elena announced, her voice carrying across the chamber through quantum translators. The holographic display behind her showed the devastation on Kepler 442b, where human settlements burned under alien plasma fire. A ripple of what could only be described as laughter echoed from the assembled aliens. The Thraxian ambassador, a towering insectoid creature with 4 arms and compound eyes that glittered like black diamonds, clicked his mandibles in amusement. The clumsy humans seek our aid, the same species that trips over its own gravity. The Zinthari representative, whose jellyfish-like form floated in a mobility tank, pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that the translator rendered as scornful words. "We have observed human military operations. Your soldiers stumble through battlefields like newborns learning to walk. They drop equipment, miss targets, and flee at the first sign of real combat." Elena's jaw tightened, but she maintained diplomatic composure. She had expected this. Humanity's reputation in the galaxy was that of a species blessed with intelligence, but cursed with incredible physical awkwardness. Every species seemed to have stories of human clumsiness, videos traded on galactic networks showing humans tripping, falling, and bumping into things with amusing frequency. "Perhaps," interjected the Valian ambassador, whose crystalline form chimed melodically as he spoke, "the humans could serve as entertainment during the war. Their amusing stumbles might raise morale among real warriors." The chamber erupted in alien equivalent of laughter. The Caraxians belched sulphurous clouds. The Meridian bird people squawked in high-pitched tones, and the silicon-based Gorvani made grinding sounds like grinding stone. Elena stood there absorbing every slight, every mocking gesture. The council chairman, an ancient Korthak whose shell bore the scars of 1,000 battles, raised a massive claw for silence. "The human request is denied. The Galactic Council cannot spare resources to protect a species that cannot protect itself. Perhaps if humanity learned to walk properly, we might reconsider." Elena gathered her materials with practiced dignity. "Very well, Chairman. We understand your position." She paused at the podium, looking out at the sea of alien faces. Earth will remember this day. As she walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet chamber, several ambassadors whispered among themselves. The Thraxian ambassador clicked to his aide. "Mark my words, within a solar cycle, their outer colonies will be ash, and they'll return begging for scraps." Elena reached the exit and turned back one final time. "Actually, there is one thing I should mention. While you were all laughing at human clumsiness, you might have missed something important." The chairman's ancient eyes focused on her. "And what would that be, human? You assume our clumsiness is weakness? You've never considered it might be camouflage." Elena's smile was cold as winter on Europa. "Earth's military command has activated the long-shot protocol. Our sniper teams are already in position." The chamber fell silent. Several ambassadors shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware that they had never actually seen humans in real combat situations. "Only training exercises and peacekeeping missions," Elena continued. "Every one of you has shared intelligence about human failures in combat. You've passed around videos of our soldiers stumbling, missing shots, and appearing incompetent. What you didn't realize is that those soldiers were performing exactly as instructed." The Zinthari ambassador pulsed nervous patterns. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating a fact. For the past 50 years, every human military operation observed by alien species has been theater. We've been very careful to maintain our reputation as the galaxy's most endearingly incompetent species." Elena's voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but the chamber's acoustics carried her words perfectly. "The Zephyrians, who are currently celebrating their easy conquest of human space, are about to learn why Earth's military doctrine has a chapter called The Value of Underestimation." The silence stretched long enough for the translation systems to catch up in all 300 languages. When Elena finally left the chamber, she could hear the eruption of concerned chatter behind her. She smiled as she walked toward her shuttle. In approximately 6 hours, the Zephyrian High Command would attend their weekly War Council meeting on the captured human station at Wolf 359. They had no idea that Master Sergeant Chen Wei-Ming had been lying, motionless in the debris field for 3 days, his rifle charged and ready.